Pittsburgh Steelers made it to the playoffs again. Mike Tomlin has another winning season. Hasn't had a losing season in his entire career. They get to put all of it on the line as they fly out to Buffalo in January, which I heard is lovely this time of year. Play Josh Allen, who just upset upset's not the right word. Beat Miami in Week 18 down at South Beach. And so we're going to break down this game, give our predictions. But before we do that, like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new videos. We're doing a prediction video for every single playoff game. And also, we have a bunch of offseason content coming out for each and every team. So if you want to see your Steelers and Bills offseason content leading up to the draft, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And Ryan, this game, honestly, it's funny. Coming into the season, I couldn't have been more confident that Pittsburgh was going to make the playoffs, and this is probably one of my most wrong correct picks I feel like I've ever made because I'm shocked that they made the playoffs. Just with overall with the performance that we've seen from them this entire year. I feel like Steelers fans, leave a comment if you agree with me on this. Like you guys feel like y'all shouldn't have won 10 games this year, and yet here you guys are, and you guys made the playoffs. And hey, it's just 4 more games. You just have to win 4 more games and you guys are champions, And so I think Mason Rudolph could take you guys to the promised land. Still, I think a lot that needs to be improved on this team, but just the fact that you guys have made it here, I think is a testament to Mike Tomlin, to the organization, to all the players, just the grind. Najee Harris, props to him. I know he's been getting a lot of heat, but I didn't realize this. I think he's the first running back, if I read the stat correctly, first running back in Pittsburgh Steelers history to have his first 3 seasons to have be 1,000-yard rushing seasons, which is actually kind of an impressive feat if you go look at the amazing running backs that have gone through the Steelers.
Also, how bad their offensive line has been in his first 3 years.
I know, and honestly, he's been splitting carries with Jaylen Warren this year too. So for him to still hit that is actually quite impressive.
Yeah.
So there are positive traits, but it just doesn't seem like with all the turmoil, then you fire Matt Canada halfway through the season, and we say all that as well. Then you go look at Buffalo, who also this first half of the season started off, did not look good at all. Looked like the same Buffalo team that you and I have been complaining about, like this is not going to win you a Super Bowl. They fire their offensive coordinator. Joe Brady comes in, and next thing you know, James Cook is having a career year, and they're running the ball all over everybody. Offensive line, one of the 2 offensive lines for all 5 offensive linemen have stayed healthy the entire year. And honestly, the biggest thing for me, I would say that their biggest fault is that Josh Allen is just a little erratic. He had several interception throws that were unnecessary tonight, I feel, and some costly turnovers throughout the season. And it's just going to be, can he keep that in check against this Pittsburgh Steelers team, which historically have always had a top defense. So I kind of throw it over to you, and I know we haven't really talked about TJ Watt yet too much, but what are kind of the expectations and what do the Steelers have to do to walk away with a kind of shocking victory here?
So I want to go back and touch on one of the things that you said, and you just wanted to give props to Mike Tomlin and this organization. And I just want to point out just how freaking lucky they've been this year. They starting out in week 2 against the Browns, they had a 2 defensive touchdown game.
Should have lost.
That they should have lost. Then in week 5 against the Ravens, another defensive touchdown. This one was a 102-yard pick 6, and then they had one big play to George Pickens down the sideline. And then the Rams game, the Rams should have at least had the ball to go down and tie because Kenny Pickett was short on the quarterback dive, but the referee was wrong on the spot, but it happened before the 2-minute warning, and the Rams had no timeouts left to challenge. And then the Bengals, they played the Bengals without Joe Burrow, and they won 16-10. They beat the Bengals 34-11. And then they played a good game against the Seahawks in Week 17, and then they played the third-string Baltimore Ravens in an absolute slop fest in Week 18. And so that was, I think, 5 games right there, 5 of their 10 wins that I just listed off the top of my head that the Steelers, in real circumstances, would not have won probably 8 or 9 times out of 10. They got very lucky this year. I don't think this team is I don't they're talented, but this offensive line is not very good. The defense outside of this pass rush also not that great. And like they really just rely on big plays as a whole to kind of keep them in games, whether that's defensive scores or turnovers or just long offensive plays. And so I think it's really interesting to kind of see what they've been able to do. Whereas Buffalo, I mean, they came in, they looked good in the first couple weeks, then they fell off a cliff, and they were 5-6 at one point. Now they've won 5 straight to get to 11-6, and they've really kind of switched their identity from spread it out, air the ball out, really have Josh Allen throw the ball 45 times a game. They're going to get him out in space and let him use his legs to, all right, we're going to have Josh Allen drop back, hand the ball off 25 times, 30 times a game, get this passing game really efficient, get Khalil Shakir, get Dalton Kincaid involved. And to me, since they've been doing that, this offense has been much better. Now, with that being said, you touched on my point with the Buffalo Bills is they still do that, but Josh Allen still just makes some of the dumb mistakes. And I don't know exactly why that is. Some of that, I think he's done that throughout his career. Brian Daboll did a good job, I think, of coaching some of that out of him in the year they went to the AFC Championship game. But I think that might just be kind of who he is. I'm not in no way am I saying Josh Allen is bad. I will definitely take Josh Allen on my football team. It's just kind of he lives by the sword and dies by the sword type of deal. It's just what it is. Yeah. So that to me, and then to kind of get into the actual game, TJ Watt not being in this game is a huge thing for the Steelers. I mean, he's their best player overall. I do not see a way that you come back from a grade 2 MCL sprain in 7 days. 7.5 days.
A lot of ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Ibuprofen, yeah. Maybe a little Tylenol in there. A little Dayquil.
Yeah. A grade 2 sprain means that he's partially torn part of his MCL.
Yeah.
And like there, I just don't see a way. Right now, he's listed as questionable, but I don't see a way that he plays. The back end of this defense for the Steelers is going to really struggle without him. And this offensive line, not that the Bills pose a threat that's like super menacing. They're not the 49ers or like the Jets or anything. They do get after the passer pretty well, and I think they're going to struggle. And the Steelers are going to struggle in this game in the trenches, and that favors Buffalo big time. Especially, it's going to be another slop fest, and this is going to be Buffalo's number 1 team. Like, this is going to be their first team out there, and they've been running the ball really well the second half of the season. So,
what's the weather going to be like in Buffalo? Not that I think it matters.
Mid-20s and snowing.
Well, and I will not that it matters too much, only just because I feel like that's the type of game Pittsburgh wants to play. Like they don't want to get into a shootout. But and I say that though now with Buffalo's ability to run the ball effectively, and they haven't been able to do that the past couple of weeks, they're also now like a cold weather team as well. Where like, hey, if we need to just run the ball every single play, it's like okay, like that's fine. They did that against Dallas. It's like it'll work perfectly fine. And so. And I think that another thing that's going to help out as well against for Buffalo, in my opinion, is their secondary is starting to get a little banged up as well as who got hurt in this game here. Linebacker Tyrell Dotson and Rasul Douglas left the game tonight. Gabe Davis, also he's a receiver, but he also left the game with a knee injury. He pulled up, so I thought it was a hamstring, but then they were saying knee injury, so I don't know if he just tweaked it. That's something to monitor. But just with the injuries that are starting to develop in the secondary, and also then too with the loss of Gabe Davis, that's something to monitor as well. If they're able to keep the game in between the tackles, which I think then you add T.J. Watt also being out, I think they should be able to dominate that defensive front. Then they're just so much more dynamic on the offensive side of the ball than the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like it's Mason Rudolph and George Pickens or Deontay Johnson. That's about it. Outside of just forcing their way to gain just a couple of yards by falling forward with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. So I think there's a lot more avenues. Like I don't want to say it's impossible. Like that's what we said last year with Miami against Buffalo, and Miami took them to the brink. So like I think there's ways that anything can happen come January, but there's definitely a lot more ways in my eyes that I see Buffalo winning this game than Pittsburgh. So let's get into predictions here. And I think we kind of gave them away a little bit, but if you're still with us, thank you. Be sure to like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new content. And Ryan, let's get into the predictions here. Who do you have winning this game?
I'm going to go with Buffalo. You mentioned that Miami game last year, and I think that I wanted to bring up that game actually anyways because I wanted to talk about trends of teams, right? Miami had kind of started to figure things out post Tua last year and was kind of trending up. And Buffalo, we had kind of been talking about it all like for the second half of all of last year. It was just like, all right, they don't look the same. Like they are not right. You can really see like the frustration kind of building on the team and whatnot. And I think you look at the trends this year, and Buffalo's trending up, and I think Pittsburgh is probably trending down. I just think this offense it's really struggled without the ability to create big plays. I think almost from week 1 to week 18, you could see that their struggle in and out of each down to really just consistently move the ball, and the only time they were really creating was when they were having big plays and breaking coverages and things. And ironically, the game where they put up the most yards and they actually moved the ball consistently pretty well, I think they only put up 16 points when they had the 400-yard offensive game, which I find really funny. Yeah. But I just think Buffalo's the more consistent team. They'll be better in this matchup. And
I'm also going to go with Buffalo as well. I just think that they're the overall the better team. I will say since Mason Rudolph has come in, I don't know if he just frees the team up a little bit more. I would say he's too big of a difference talent-wise between Kenny Pickett. There's definitely a talent difference between him and Mr. Trubisky. But I digress. But so I don't know why that there has been a little bit more of an offensive explosion, so to say, with Mason Rudolph coming in. If you go and look at their games since he has started, there was a Bengals game he put up 34, and they put up 30 against Seattle. And then 17 against Baltimore in a slot fest of a game, and that was weather-wise. But then, to your point, though, where they rely on explosive plays, what got them the lead was that 75-yard, like, inside post touchdown pass to Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, so, and then I think their other touchdown was off a poor punt where they got the ball in favorable field position.
I can't remember. But I don't know what it is with Mason Rudolph where he does offer more explosive or more consistency. But to your point, though, in a general trend throughout the entire season, they have just struggled to just every play, you're right, seems like a grind. It doesn't seem like there's a routine 4 or 5 yard running play, or just a routine 4 or 5 yard pass to get them to 2nd and 5, or like, all right, it's 2nd and 4, let's do this pass play. Okay, first down. All right, just move the chains. In general, yes. I think with Mason Rudolph, I don't know. I would say that they're trending upwards a little bit just because they've won 3 games in a row to make the playoffs. They had a little bit of help come their way, and so they made it. So maybe there's that sign of relief. But in general, though, there's still a bunch I think that needs to be analyzed about this Pittsburgh Steelers offense in the offseason, what other pieces they need. I think they need another receiver for sure. Offense needs to improve. But to your point, though, I think quarterback.
I think they need to build the trenches, in my opinion.
Trenches, absolutely, yes. And so, but I think a receiver potentially could be a good option depending on who's available as well. Add him along with George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. But that's a separate conversation. That's for the off-season recap video for the Steelers. So be sure to like and subscribe. But I'm also going to go with Buffalo as well. I just think they're just a better team, and they're playing the right football at the right time.
Yeah. So we're both taking the Bills. Let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. Again, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is coming out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Pittsburgh Steelers? Will it be the Buffalo Bills? Other than that, we will see you guys next time.